video, I'm going to show you two methods of making a hanging wall banner. The first one is very easy, requires hardly any materials and can use stuff literally lying around the house. The second method is equally as easy, but requires a needle and thread. Both are really fun, really quick to do, and you can create so many designs, so many mottos, so many sayings. So watch this little tutorial and get creative. So before we can begin making our creation, we need to have a think about what we want our design to say. So I have a few mottos that I like throwing around. One of them you've already seen, which is stay hydrated. I strongly recommend that, have a drink of water right now. And also get creative, which I think I've probably already said, so that's what we're doing. And my third one is ride the wave. Ride the wave is my saying for when you just need to kind of go with something. You need to let yourself go with it and just go with the flow essentially. So yeah, ride the wave. Have a think about what you want yours to say. I think roughly about 3-4 words is a good maximum, but you can make it as simple as 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, it can be anything. Happy birthdays, congratulations, your name, they're always great ones, or kind of, you know, like, even you can use at parties or events as hashtags, but that's up to you to decide. The materials we'll need are pen and pencil, blue tack or any other adhesive, scissors, and any old magazine or newspaper. I have NME because it comes out every Friday. There's always free copies, so I pick 2 up. 1 to craft with and 1 to read. Let's see what we can create. So I'm going to begin flicking through NME and seeing any pages that I quite like that I think I can use for my letters. Anything that has interesting designs or colours or patterns will work well. Sometimes I like a cheeky face to pop through the text. Once I found a good design, I'll sketch out the letter that I want. It doesn't need to be heavy because I'm going to be cutting out just enough to see. Freehand, but if you want to do something a bit more precise, then that's up to you to take your time. But I think the kind of, you know, more artsy, crafty look, the better. So this is what I've created and this is what I'm left with. Now all I have to do is switch over the backs and put on blue tack. Now all the letters are blue tacked up and we can get sticking them onto the wall. That's method 1 complete. All you had to do was cut out the letters, stick them up with blue tack, and you're done. Easy peasy. The best part is that NME is free. I didn't even have to spend any money. And if you don't want to start a new ball of blue tack, just take down posters you don't want up anymore. Easy as that. Now for the second method, this is something which is a bit more aesthetic, you could say. I choose specific colours for each word, but you can mix up the colours for all the different letters, whatever you're feeling, whatever works best for you. And there is also a couple of new supplies that we're going into how to use for this method. The other materials you'll need so it actually hangs is thread. I use a polyester thread. I think it's probably from John Lewis, but like any kind of like haberdashery, maybe even any like arts and crafts place, and just a needle. I wouldn't suggest using cotton thread because unless you like separate it into strands and then use some of those, because that's quite thick and really you want something that is just going to hold up the paper essentially. So polyester thread and a needle. I can't really afford to buy tons of coloured paper, so thankfully Paper Chase and Spectroscope have got these memo blocks. There are two that I've found so far. They come in pastel and like a classic like bold pack. It's literally easy peasy blocks of colours that I can use for all my crafty supplies. For this design, I know that I wanted to say ride the wave. So I'm going to be using yellow, pink and blue. They're colours that I think go really well together. It kind of plays on the primary colours look. I find using these memo blocks so much easier when I want to create banners, because I know that for each square of paper I can get a full good one letter out. If I want to, I might be able to squeeze some smaller ones on if I want to make a smaller banner, but for now that means that I can rip off how many sheets per word that I need. So ride the wave, I know that I need 4, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. It's up to you how you cut the spacing within the letters. So on the destroy to create banner that I have shown at the beginning of this video, when I do the R or the A, I don't take out the middle space. It kind of gives that more like hipster indie look, but for this memo, this kind of motto, that's the look I want to go for. So now I have penciled out all of my letters on the paper. You might not be able to see it too well on camera, but this is now what I'm going to use to cut out, and I'll show you the next steps afterwards. Now all the letters are ready, I can sew them into what will be their hanging banner. When the letters are hanging, they aren't going to be taut. So when you're measuring your thread, you need to give it a bit of leeway to give it like that hanging effect. So once I've measured out what the length is approximately, I then get that piece of string and measure the exact same length again. This means that when I'm hanging the letters up, they have more strength from having like 2 pieces of thread together rather than just one. So next I thread my needle and thread. And I tie a knot in the far end. Now that I've tied my knot, we can string the letters on. When I do my letters, I begin by going over, and I go to the far side and giving just a few millimeters from the top and bottom of the corner of the letter. I then thread through and I come out the other side. I go quite far along because you're going to have to make it through to the next letter without it getting all caught up with the other letter. Does that make sense? You'll see that it works. So here's the next letter, top corner, and I begin going over it and come out the other side. It's up to you whether you want to rub out the pencil marks. But when they're hanging up, sometimes you can hardly see them, sometimes it's more noticeable. So now I've got my letters, I can push them across and adjust their spacing a bit. And now you see we have the first hanging. This is just a note to say that when I do letters like the W and the H, that I go midway through one kind of like side of it, and then I come out through the other side of it, rather than like doing 2 little like front overs and backs. I just do one front over so that it all goes behind as well. Whereas when I get to this A, I treat it similarly to the D, so I will do it like with one little bit and then one little bit again. If it wants to work. This gives you the general idea of what I'm now going to hang up somewhere. I use essentially like a double backed piece for each word, and then when I get to the end I just cut it off from the needle, tie it up, and I'm ready. So these bits that I've done in a knot, this is where I will put the blue tack for when I hang it up into a wall. So it has like at least something small and substantial to hang on to. And if you're wondering what I do with all these scrap pieces left behind from cutting out earlier, then hang on to them. It's good quality paper. So what I've done in the past is I've created a mini zine out of them, mini zine, and just kind of played around with the shapes and created some interesting designs. It's a good way, again, to get creative whilst not letting any of the paper go to waste. If you'd like more information about how I make that zine and how I arrange those pieces of paper so it creates interesting designs, leave a comment below and I can make a whole new video about it. By placing it in the corner of the room, it means I can play around with the depth of the banner. And because all the letters are on string, I can easily move them about until I find the perfect composition.